All right. Hello, everybody. It's March 26, 2015, and this is the Backdrop Weekly Status Update. We get together every Thursday around this time at 1 p.m. Pacific to talk about Backdrop and to give everybody an update on how things are progressing in the world of Backdrop. So we always start off these meetings talking about any updates from the Project Management Committee. That's our overall group for conflict resolution or large project shifting decisions. And we don't have anything new since last week, but we do still have a whole bucket load of free PHP Storm licenses if you're a Backdrop contributed module developer, which means you have to join the Backdrop Contrib organization on GitHub. We can give you a free PHP Storm license that you can use for the next year, which is great. So if you've joined the Backdrop Contrib group and you'd like to use PHP Storm, just shoot us an email, info@backdropcms.org, and we will hook you up. Community growth. We had one new author join the contributed module author group since last week. And kind of, as we've seen actually, hang on, there's new projects. Every single week, we've been clipping along at around between 7 and 10 new projects every week since we started keeping track, which is pretty incredible. We do need more contrib authors, though. We're only growing at a new contrib author, like maybe 3 or 4 at a good week, and maybe 1 or 2 at a slower week. New contributed authors, but of those contributed authors, it seems like we're really clipping along with those finite number of authors writing a whole lot of modules, reporting a lot of modules, which is great. Thank you guys so much for doing all of that work porting modules. But long term, we're really going to need more people to maintain all of these modules that we've been porting. Don't stop porting, though, because it's still helpful and effective for us to get a lot of these modules initially ported, and then later we can get new maintainers in to maintain it for the long term. Let's see, in the news, mid-camp was last weekend, and that's the reason why Jen Lampton is not with us, because she got hit by the most extreme case of Drupal flu you've ever encountered. And so it's Thursday. She's been out for 4 whole days now. But mid-camp was great last weekend. We also got our first edition Backdrop T-shirts ever created and printed, which you can see here. They look just like this, that are just the logo. This is one of the few T-shirts that is remaining because we distributed all of the ones that we got pretty much immediately on the first day of the camp. Thank you very much, Doug Van, for sponsoring that first 50 first edition Backdrop T-shirts. They were a huge hit. We gave them all out on the first day of the camp, which was Friday, and I probably saw a dozen people wearing them on Saturday. It was awesome. So it's pretty sweet not to see just people like taking a T-shirt. We also said nobody could burn it in an effigy, not allowed. So if you weren't going to burn it, then we would happily give you one, especially if you've been a contributor to the project. And we distributed all of them pretty much immediately, and then had a lot of people wearing them around a camp, which I thought was just fantastic to see. People excited enough about the project to get a T-shirt, but also bold enough and comfortable enough with the project to be wearing it at a major Drupal event. We were also sponsoring the Code Sprint. The Code Sprint room was sponsored by Backdrop, so I think that may have also gone a little ways towards generating some goodwill. Okay. Things that are not Backdrop itself, we always like to talk about the peripherals around Backdrop and say how our progress is coming along with all of these issues. The first item on this list is Drush. We've been trying to work on getting Drush support for Backdrop for a while now. And right now, things are in a really good place where the Drush project itself has abstracted things to make it possible for us to use Drush by adding in a Backdrop-specific class into our own project repository, which would make it so that Backdrop could provide its own kind of .inc file or a class to integrate or map all of the functions that Drush uses into Backdrop. So we have the capability to do that right now. And Greg Anderson has been saying that if you guys want to do it, the time is now. We just need to write our own integration because that's not going to come from the Drush community. We'll need to do it ourselves. But as far as everything else, the Drush community basically is ready for us to, or has been abstracted so that we can actually utilize it. There's an issue over in the Drush issue queue, Drush ops/Drush issue 342 on GitHub. And you can see that issue has now been closed because we're pretty much ready to write our Backdrop integration. We just haven't done it yet. So it's great. We have everything we need there. Let's see. Next item is an update server. Right now, when you install Backdrop, it asks you if you would like to check for updates still, just like Drupal does. But when you check for, go to the update status page, it just says that the update status is not implemented yet. Implementing this update server is tied into a bunch of other things. It's all kind of tied together. On Drupal.org, project module manages the issue queue, the project releases, the project pages, the project browser of all themes and distributions. All of that is all tied together in the project module on Drupal.org. And what I've been doing recently is trying to push forward with the Backdrop project module so that we can browse and find and collaborate better together, because right now the GitHub list of modules, although functional if you know what you're looking for, is really difficult to browse, search, or tell which versions are stable, or pretty much anything beyond finding the raw code for the project. So we're not going to worry about issue queue management because that's all being handled on GitHub, of course. And the way our releases are going to work is inverted from the way Drupal.org works, where Drupal.org, you create a tag and push it up, and then that allows you to create a release on Drupal.org. But we have no ability to prevent people from making releases on GitHub. So what will happen is if you tag and push up a release on GitHub and then make release notes, an official release on GitHub, that will automatically create a release node on backdropcms.org. So it'll be a little bit different because the basis of control is going to be on GitHub instead of on backdropcms.org. You'll still be able to log into backdropcms.org, but that's down the road. Okay, let's see. Issues for that. The primary issue where I think all of this is really happening is in the Backdrop ops group on GitHub. There's an issue queue for backdropcms.org, and it's issue number 8. Okay, other peripherals. The API website, api.backdropcms.org, is just rolling along. It's just dandy. There has been some talk about updating its theme to use the same theme as the flagship website, but that's a lower priority item. Overall, it's just churning along. I think that we're all up to date on change records that need to be created. And if we come across any more things, I actually ran across one with an early translation issue hasn't been addressed in a change record. If you run across anything that we're missing a backwards compatibility layer for, or there's some change that wasn't documented, file an issue in our normal issue tracker and tag it with needs change notice, and we'll get one written up and documented. Let's see, the main website, backdropcms.org. We've been on Backdrop now, ported it to Backdrop for a couple weeks. It's just going along fine. We haven't had any bug reports since we switched to Backdrop, which is pretty remarkable. The main thing we're working on right now with the flagship website is we are working on building out the project browser, that is the list of modules, themes, layouts, etc. This is part of the project module and the update server that I was talking about earlier. But we're simultaneously working on doing the code and the design for it. And so we got our first revision of the modules page design this past week. Darius, who did our website and the admin theme style guide, is currently working on building out the project browser. We only have one page of mockup so far, but it's looking really great. There's a link to it in the agenda document. I'm going to paste this into the Hangout for your guys' enjoyment as well. So there's not much to it at this point. It's really just one page that shows you a listing of modules. It's really more just a testament to how nice Darius can make anything look, even no matter how simple it is. Okay, later on, after we get the project browser built out, we're going to be working on Showcase, a listing of service providers for Backdrop, and jobs board. But all of those things are all down the pipeline. All right, for Backdrop itself, the next point release is to be determined. Bug fix released 1.0.6. The last version, 1.0.5, came out last week as a security release, coordinated with the Drupal team again. And since then, we haven't really run across anything significant, but as we collect bug fixes, once we get a substantial amount of them, then we'll release the next bug fix release. Let's see, the next minor release, 1.1 of Backdrop, is scheduled for May 15th, 2015. And we have a couple of major items in there that we're trying to get accomplished. The one that we've been saying that we've been trying to get, but is probably the furthest behind, is we're trying to build out a rich text editor for 1.1. And that probably, well, not probably, but almost certainly will be CK editor, and integrating it directly into integrating the WYSIWYG functionality of selecting different text editors and things like that, integrating that directly into filter module, and then adding a CK editor module that's integrated into filter directly on top of that. So that's issue 101 in our queue. We still haven't made a whole lot of progress on this. I'm hoping maybe what we can pull off is that we will at least enhance the filter module to support the toggling of text formats and associating those with the text editor. Maybe that will include a really lightweight CK editor module, but if not, it would be nice just to get the infrastructure in place in filter module so that we can have the base functionality of like WYSIWYG module from 777 built in directly into filter module. Let's see, next item in 1.1 is we are going to be integrating token module into core. This is coming along really great. It's issue 480. Jen has been working on this for the past couple of weeks. She's got the dialogue working and integrating again, and she's got tokens inserting, and she has most of the integrations already merged into their appropriate modules, which is fantastic. The only parts that she's continuing to work on that haven't been completed is getting them all distributed, like all of the integrations into all of the appropriate modules. So things are coming along. Let's see, Path Auto module. Path Auto module, we're also trying to get into 1.1. Jeff Serendipity, who's here with us on the call, made some initial progress a couple weeks ago, merging this into Path module. But I don't think there's been much since then. Do you have anything you want to add, Jeff? You can just shake your head, or okay, no. All right. All right, and the last thing that we've got, you need to get the hooks. Okay, awesome. So things are making some progress. Yeah. The API changes for changing Path Auto into part of Path module is, a significant part of it, and that will definitely be some changes to the API because it won't be Path Auto anymore. It'll just be part of Path. So, understandable. Okay, the last item we've got for 1.1 is we're working on an updated administrative theme, the look and feel of the administrative theme, and Wes has been taking the lead on that. We made a new branch last week, the 1.x new style branch, that currently includes 3 separate pull requests, I think. It includes the pagers, messages, and font changes. But as we get new additional pull requests that are ready to go in, I'm going to be merging those into that 1.x new style branch. and that will allow us to have things that are that is moving forward. But right now it looks pretty broken because there are things of all different sizes right now because the font size increased, and so some things are bigger and some things are smaller, and it just looks a little bit funky right now. But Wes is doing a great job splitting up those issues and tackling them one at a time. Wes, do you have anything you'd like to add, status update-wise?
Going a little slow right now, but I think I'm going to speed us up one way or another this week and knock out a lot of stuff. And that having that branch is really helpful. I'm actually getting that right now. So
Okay.
yeah, that's it.
Is there anything in that the new style branch that you'd like to see merged sooner rather than later to help facilitate integrating between the different pull requests?
I think just getting the font in there is probably the biggest deal. I don't think there's anything else really, and that included the body font size change. That should be all we need. That's shared between all of these tasks. So I think we're good.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought as well, that we just need to get that font in, and then that kind of applied to everything. Okay, excellent. Yeah, it's looking really great. The new font just looks great. It's nice looking contemporary again. Like the styles have been changing slowly but steadily for sure for the last 6, 7 years, 8 years since 7 was created. So it feels really great to be up with the times again. All right, let's see. Continuous improvements. We're always working on improving things throughout core in the categories of user experience and developer experience. There are not really tags, but we put in square brackets UX and DX into our issue queue on any issues that improve user experience or developer experience. For the most part, developer experience issues, we're still trying to improve those where we can by improving documentation, but for the most part, developer experience is kind of locked in for the 1.x branch until we roll around to 2. So user experience improvements, though, happening all the time. So if you have anything you'd like to see improved in Backdrop, file an issue, tag it with the UX in the title, and we would love to get to it. Sprints. We sprint every Thursday. Right after this meeting, we all kind of just hang out in IRC, do what we can to move Backdrop forward. I'm still going to be working on project module today, but if there's anything else that needs attention, I'll also be looking at pull requests and merging the ones that we've got outstanding. Let's see, we're in IRC and Pound Backdrop, and for general discussion, we also have a Reddit channel, subreddit, or just Backdrop at reddit.com. In our weekly agenda, if you're interested in attending these meetings, we have an iCal feed of the schedule of all of our meetings that happens every Thursday. We also have an iCal feed of all Backdrop events in which Backdrop will be in attendance or sponsoring or we will have a presence at of some kind. Let's see, and MidCamp, that was last week. MidCamp was great. It was last week. Really great time. The next major event that we will be attending will be DrupalCon, but we will not have an official presence at DrupalCon of any sort, but we will be having an after-hours event that is just in tandem with DrupalCon. So it'll be off the premise. Jen looked at a couple of meeting spaces. It looks like the most likely thing we'll do is we'll do something on Friday. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is the traditional DrupalCon dates. But Monday is usually training, and Friday is usually sprinting. And so we will be there for the entire week in DrupalCon LA. But the Backdrop day will be Friday, which will be actually be May 15th, which will be the day of our 1.1 release. So we will probably be working our asses off getting 1.1 ready throughout DrupalCon. And then on Friday night, we will be having a Backdrop dinner. Location to be determined, but it's looking like it'll probably be Friday night, May 15th. Let's see. We've also got a Drupal Watchdog article coming out in May that should be right before DrupalCon, and we've got 2 articles in there. one Jen wrote that is all about Backdrop and the functionality that is included in it, and a little sidebar that that I wrote that is just an FAQ on Backdrop. So that's it. That's Backdrop in a nutshell for this week. We like to open it up at the end of the call for anyone who has joined in to add anything if they have anything to say. Anything from you guys in the gallery here?
I'm having an issue on one of my pull requests. Being a markup snob, I wanted to remove the little Raclo guys from the actual markup and put them in using CSS.
Right.
And it's throwing all the test errors, and I think I've proved that it's definitely me removing those little arrows that's ruining it, and the test code is just like whoosh, like I've tried like doing a find and like okay, this is my test and removing things, and it's just like it's not working. So anyone who has simple test experience, that I could use some help.
Okay, awesome. Did you remove it from? So this is in the breadcrumb that you're removing those little arrows from. Did you remove it in theme breadcrumb, or did you put an override in the 7 theme?
In 7, yep.
Okay, you did an override.
Didn't want to mess that up for the current version.
Yeah,
I'd love to mess it up for the next point release if we want to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think that's the right way to go for the time being. We'll probably need to wait to 2.x to actually modify the markup. Yeah, okay. If nobody else gives you additional help there, I'll work on that as well, because most of the pull requests right now are style guide changes. So as I'm going through the reviews, if there's nothing else to knock out or nothing else that needs merging right away, I can help resolve the test failures as well. All right. Anything else?
Yeah, I have a couple questions.
Oh, hey, John. Shoot.
So the first one is about your update strategy. Was there any work looking into possibly using the releases feeds that you can get through GitHub that numbers the releases that a project has?
No. I was not aware of such a thing. I will look into that.
I have a need for something similar on something I'm doing here at UC Irvine, where I'm now moving all of my modules to GitHub, and I want to be able to check for them being up to date. GitHub provides a feed with some information about what tags and releases are available. I was just thinking we could use something like that. It's in JSON format.
Yeah, that's excellent. I have not heard of that. There are a couple of things that we might be able to leverage that, but there are a couple of reasons why we couldn't use it right away. Primarily because the update module that we ported from 777, we did a real minimal porting job on, and right now it actually is connecting to backdropcms.org to get its update list. So at least for the 1.0.x release, all of those sites are currently checking backdropcms.org for updates. Although it's interesting, like the possibilities and what we might be able to do there.
Yeah, you might want to continue having them the states of the modules be proxied through that site anyway. The GitHub feeds are rate limited. At this point, probably wouldn't be a problem, but if you continue to grow, then you might start running into issues.
Yeah, and we also, long-term, although GitHub is our canonical repository right now, we also would like to make sure that we can grow and be more flexible with other source code repositories. Like, like Google Code shut down recently, or they are currently officially like in read-only mode and will actually be shut down. But Google Code was like the canonical source code place for a long time before GitHub, and before Google Code there was SourceForge. So I mean, there's a life cycle to all of these things, and eventually we may need to live in a post-GitHub world. And that might be like Bitbucket, or it might be something new that we've not heard of yet. So, yeah, all of the tools that are available, I would love to look into them. But yeah, for the time being, we'll probably continue proxying because it's not only the easiest path forward, it's also the one that that would be most flexible. So
Yeah, I came across a thread on Drupal.org about porting their stuff onto GitLab, which is a a GitHub-like tool, and it's pretty interesting read.
Yeah.
My second question is about the version numbering. So with Jen's changes to token, Flag module can take advantage of those for the tokens that it offers. So is there a versioning numbering methodology for contrib modules to correspond to the various versions of the core?
Yeah, contrib modules right now, we're following the convention of Drupal that we are versioning them with 1.x or whatever the major API version is. In this case, 1.x dash and then a semantic version. So 1.x prefix is the API compatibility version. What we're going to do with token module, so all tokens that are currently token modules should be in 1.1.0. So there should be total compatibility with all modules that are currently leveraging those existing tokens. There shouldn't be any changes there. But token module itself, when we move it into core, what I think we'll probably do is we will forcibly have core claim the token namespace and use, there's some function for this. Well, it could be through system requirements or some other mechanism where we will disable any token module that is currently installed on a website and prevent anybody from turning it back on again. Basically, we'll just say, token is now a reserved namespace. You can never turn on a module named token ever again. And that way, we won't end up with contrib providing a token and core providing a token, something along those lines.
Right, yeah, I've got a dependency on token, but I was able to factor that out based on the code that Jen had forked for the work she was doing. And so now the next version of Flag module will be dependent upon Backdrop 1.1 or newer. And so I'm wondering if there's a way to indicate that or a strategy for that in the numbering of contrib modules.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that one. A module specifically saying it depends on token hadn't occurred to me. I'm not sure.
It won't depend on token so much as it'll depend on the 1.1 core or newer.
Right. Yeah. And that you can do just by using the .info file. Is that right?
Okay.
So in the .info file, you can say, although we almost always use equal to 1.x, you can say if you want to greater than or equal to 1.1, and it will do a version string check saying your module depends on 1.1 or higher.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
Yeah, cool. That's great. Any other questions?
I'm working on a module that depends on the Drupal registry. I'm not too familiar with dealing with that part of the code, the database table, and file classes and that type of thing. Maybe some basic pointers, or I didn't spend too much time on it, so I know that I know, Nate, you worked on making that something new in Backdrop, and I wonder if you could just say a couple pieces about that.
Yeah, so the class registry, one of the banes of every Drupal developer's existence, I think. So the class registry in Drupal 7 was a database table that contained a list of all classes and which files they were in. And whenever, so there's a function in PHP called SPL autoload, I think it is. And what that is it's a function that lets you specify a callback that when a class is instantiated, it will automatically call that function and try to find where that class lives and then instantiate a new instance of that class. So we're using a PHP core feature for auto-loading. And in Drupal 7, what that callback did is it queried a database table to see which file contained which classes, and then would load that file, and if the class was found, then it would say true, or return true, I found the class. The downside of that is that, well, for one, it required doing a database query to load a class, which is just really dumb. And second of all, is that if that registry ever got corrupted, like a class was missing or the table was empty, you could get into a situation where Drupal was unable to function or load in any way whatsoever because some of its classes were no longer in the database table. And so there was a project called Registry Rebuild that would not use a Drupal bootstrap or use a really, really, really lightweight Drupal bootstrap to rebuild the class registry manually. But all that was a giant headache. So in Backdrop, we don't have a class registry in the same way. We have, instead of a database table, we have a hook that is uncached that is called every page load for hook autoload info. And so if your module provides a class, you need to implement hook autoload info, and you can go look at any core module for an example of this: system module, node module, comment module, etc. They all have some classes in there, and that's just a pure map between the class name and the file that contains that class. Yeah. So I'm not really, Andy. Which module are you working on that requires that modifies the registry table directly?
The mailing system, by way that is mail system, MyMail, MailChimp, Mandrill, Simple News.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So first of all, I would say make sure you're looking and working on the 2.x version of that module, not the current stable, but the unstable one, because the old version of that module did something crazy, and that was it would dynamically write a PHP file to your files directory, a whole class to your files directory, and then I bet it registered that class in the registry that it created. All of that is just freaking crazy. The new version of the module comes with a single class that handles all functionality, so it doesn't need to make new classes on the fly. It always just uses one class, and then it routes the options through it to combine like whatever your mailer system is, like SMTP or Mandrill, with your formatting module like MyMail. So hopefully, if you use the new version, of the module instead of the current stable version, then you won't have to modify the registry at all. But if you do have to modify the registry anyway, in Backdrop it's just as simple as specifying the new classes in that hook autoload info. Although, because that hook is uncached and called every page load, it's best not to do anything dynamic or anything that requires a database query. So try to make that as fast as possible no matter what. Okay. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining. As always, we will get together again next week. And until then, I will see most or all of you guys in IRC or on GitHub. So thanks so much for joining. Bye, guys.